Hey, day drinkers. Happy Thursday. Um, Tonight you're listening to Day Drinking with Authors. This is a podcast interview series where I pick a book, the author picks a drink, and we talk about both. The best of all possible worlds. So I started reading romance novels at a far too young an age. I think I was about 12. And I started writing seriously when I was about 25. And I never stopped reading romance novels, so I've been reading them for decades. All of this to say, it is very, very hard to find a contemporary romance author and a contemporary romance series that grabs me by the throat, that makes me stay up way too late, that I have no idea what is going to happen in these books. It's hard to find those books because I've been around for a while. And then I found Cate C Wells. And I'm telling you, if you are a romance fan and you are not reading these books, fix that right away. There's something so special about these books that I can't actually even be surprised. Like when you're reading your book and you're like, oh, what a surprise. I can't even be surprised because I start these books with no preconceived notions. I have no idea. The characters are totally realistic. The situation is totally realistic. The world is completely real. Like there's no twists and turns because I am just in this world and it is just unfolding as it happens. And it's the best compliment I can give a book, particularly a romance, because I've been reading them for so long. So Cate C Wells is joining us tonight. Now, the eighth book in her series is called Heavy, and that's coming out in September 15th. But if you've been reading this series, then you know what Heavy is about. If you haven't been reading this series, do not start with Heavy. You need to start earlier. All the books can be read as a standalone, but there is an unfolding mystery that's happening. So start with Charge, but I am actually going to read the back cover copy of my favorite book, which is Plum. So Plum, he has it all, but he wants her. Plum, I'm a survivor. I do what I have to do, and I know how the world works. The hot millionaire doesn't fall for the working girl. The man's sweet words, his gentle hands, it's a fairy tale. Believe in those, you'll crash and burn. Adam. I'm a tech mogul, the adopted son of a man who owns this city. My face is on the cover of magazines and my name is on every list, top 10, most eligible. But what I really want is dancing right in front of me and totally out of reach. I need her to give me everything, her body, her trust, her heart. She thinks we're so different, it could never work, but we have more in common than she knows. At the end of the night, when the lights come up, will we be strong enough to choose each other, or will the harsh glare of reality destroy what we found in the dark? Plum is a steamy opposites attract, MC meets billionaire romance. It is book 4 in the Steel Bones Motorcycle Club, and it can be read as a standalone. I mean, what she doesn't tell you, what's reading between the lines, is she's a stripper, sometimes prostitute. And when he meets her, she is performing sexual acts on somebody else. How does it work? I don't know. Let's ask Cate. Come out, Cate.
Hi.
So, Cate, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And I want everyone to know who's watching. For every comment on the broadcast, you can comment below, even if it doesn't show your name. Sometimes it says Facebook user. That's all cool. But for every comment, Cate and I are donating $1 to the Whole Women's Health Alliance in Austin, Texas, because women in Austin, Texas, women in Texas need some help right now. So we are donating $1 for every comment. So please ask questions. Just say hi. We would love it. So Cate, first of all, let's talk about our wine. We're drinking Where Did This Wine Come From wine.
That's right. Where did your wine come from?
So my wine, I had 2 friends over in my backyard and they each brought a bottle of wine at the end of the night, and I didn't pay any attention to what the wine was, and I thought they were both the same wine, and so I poured one into the other bottle like they were half done, and then I realized that I poured some very expensive wine into some very cheap wine. Delish.
The plot of Plum. As a vintage.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So what are you drinking? Where's your wine from?
I'm drinking. Here we go.
Oh, that looks fancy.
It's a red. It's a Sangiovese Toscana. I mispronounce that. So this is I thought I was gonna have to drink one of my father-in-law's Michelob Lights because that was the only thing I could find in the house. But this is actually my father-in-law bought this. He is a bit of a connoisseur. He is from Chicago, by way of Hammond, Indiana,
There you
and
go.
he had this great idea that my husband should give this bottle of wine to his boss as like an ingratiating thing. And my husband was like, I don't kiss ass. And so it just ended up in the cupboard until tonight.
So you're drinking I don't kiss ass.
Ass wine, yes. My husband is a port captain, so his job is to boss longshoremen around all day. So he does not, in fact, kiss ass.
No, and it would be strange if he showed up with a bottle.
But his dad's a very, he's a very sophisticated sort, so he thought it would be an excellent professional maneuver.
For any other profession, perhaps.
Yeah, not this one. Like the Michelob Light would probably have gone over a little bit.
Yeah, right. It'll take those 6 pack of Michelob Light. We have our first comment. I want to remind everybody, comment question. We donate $1 to the Whole Women's Health Alliance in Austin, Texas. Molly Fader, you nailed it right on the head. What I love about Kate's books. All right.
Thank you, Facebook user.
Okay,
Do you,
so
do you see names, Molly?
no, there are no names. Facebook user. So we're going to get right into this. Now, we're going to start with a question that I was going to save till the end, but we're going to start with it. So I asked when we were sort of backstage chatting, like, because your books are so good, and there hasn't, in my opinion, been a misstep in this series. I thought for sure this was a pen name and that you had a million books in some other name, and you were like, no, I just want to write Dirty Motorcycle series. But in fact,
Yes, this is Charged was my first published book. Yep. So I would have been 41. Yep, 41 when Charge came out, so I'm 43 now. Yeah, and it's the third novel that I finished writing. And I was telling you, I've started hundreds and hundreds of novels. I've been writing my entire life. Almost as long as I've been reading romance, but not quite. I'd like to point out that when I was a teenager, I did have a awesome vampire story wherein like the baby was a vampire and that was causing some weird kind of like disgusting horror type stuff. I could have made $1 million if I had stuck
just
to
stuck
that
with it.
lane.
So I mean, these books read like you are a lover of romance. Like,
Oh yeah.
so
Oh, big time. Yes.
so when you were writing those books and not finishing them, can I ask what was different about this series? That, like, what compelled you to finish it?
Practical desperation.
Yes.
I told this story before, and I'm not really sure how it goes over. It's gone over kind of not so great in the past, but this is the God's honest truth. So I was writing. I was very dedicated to writing. I was a writing minor in college, and then I quit smoking. And so I had to quit writing because that was my process, right? I'd stay up all night, drink tea, and smoke cigarettes. And so I had
Ugh.
to, I had just to stop so that I could quit. And I did quit, and that was amazing and wonderful. But I also quit writing for decades. Um, and then I was in my backyard, and I was just walking across my deck, and my foot went straight through. And my daughter was, oh gosh, she would have been like 2 or 3 at that time. And I was like, I need a new deck. And at that time, I hadn't fallen completely in love with my neighborhood. I'm like, I need a new neighborhood. I need a new life. And I'm like, what can I do to make more money? And I was like, I have no skills. There's nothing I could do. But maybe I was okay at writing. Like a professor said that to me a long time ago. And so I just started writing, and I wrote. My process for that first book, because I always would, I would just think, oh, this is no good, this is no good, and give it up, try something else, this is no good. And I was just like, it's okay if it's no good. You read a lot of crappy romance, Kate.
There's a lot out there. There's a
Yeah.
wide spectrum, a range of romance out there for everybody.
Yeah, yes, just keep going no matter what it is. And I kept going, and I finished that book, and it is atrocious. It's really bad. It's called Schooling the Earl. It is
Okay. I mean,
it's
it
a
works.
it's a Regency romance. I think it's Regency, although it might be a little bit after that. And I'm going to plot spoil it. It ends when she falls off a cliff.
Oh,
But she is rescued by
oh, okay.
the herring, the hero and his daring do. She is rescued. But that's like, yeah. And Cecilia Mecca. Do you know Cecilia Mecca?
I think I know the name.
Yeah, yeah, she writes historical and she's amazing. And so, we were just kind of internet friends and she agreed to beta read it for me because she's just a kind and generous and amazing person. And she did. And her note was kind of like, here's this book on how to plot. Read this book. And I did. And she like saved, yeah, that's
Wow.
my career from an early
So
demise.
the first book in this series, Charge, is the third book you've finished, which would make every book subsequent that number of books that you finished. So you're at like 10 finished books,
Uh-huh.
12 finished books,
Yeah.
7 of them published. 10 of them published? Where are you at?
Uh you are in the neighborhood. I should know
Right.
this number.
Okay.
There's some novellas, and then there's one that Goodreads thinks is a novella, but Amazon doesn't. And so I'm like, that's Wall, and I'm like, what are you? So yes, I think it's like 12 or 13. I have Heavy is the seventh book in the Steelbone series, if you don't count Dizzy, which is a full length prequel.
Pretty cool.
So that's 8, and then there's Roosevelt and Twitch, which are companion novellas. So that's 10. And then there's Hitting the Wall, which is my foray into steamy small town. And it's connected because it's Wall, the MC brothers, his brother,
Hmm.
the small town sheriff's deputy. And that's Hitting the Wall, secret baby book, because I love secret babies.
It is. It's a really good secret baby book too.
Yeah.
It really is a good secret baby book. I
Yeah.
can't say that about every secret baby book, but you made it, I mean, you made it believable that she would never tell him. So this world, like, it is actually really gritty and it is really dark. And people aren't just like wallpaper broke, they are broke. They are broke and they are desperate. You have, I can't remember which book it is, but a woman is remembering, like her benefits number ends in an 8, so her check comes in at the end. Like
Yeah.
these details that paint this world. What drew you to this world, and are you ever like, whew, too dark, lady? Like, do you ever feel yourself putting on the brakes, or are there times that you wish you had put on the brakes? Like, and how do you balance it? Because that's got to be a hard thing to write.
So I always, when I, when I when I'm like, am I doing this right? It's when I'm joking around and I'm like, am I being too funny? Um,
Oh,
because my family is, of Irish descent, and I'm not sure if this is a national characteristic or if it's just our branch of the family, but we have some dark humor. And so, when the absolute worst thing happens, we're always cracking really bad jokes. So, but I know that that is not that is not a commonality amongst all people. So sometimes I'm like, oh, and my editor will catch me. She's like, now is not the time for this joke. um like, because my family, we would totally tell this. But I a lot of the stuff is my experience. A lot of the stuff is the experience of the people I grew up with, my family. We weren't we were on food stamps when I was little. It was hand to mouth for a while, for a long while. And so it doesn't feel dark to me. It feels real.
yeah, no,
um
yeah,
the mafia book, that's dark. That's just
that
pretty
got dark.
heavy.
Well, that brings me to my next question, is that, another thing in just about every one of your book, you have characters dealing with very real mental health challenges. I mean, the mafia book, Run Posey Run, he's a legit sociopath,
Yeah,
right?
there's something wrong with him.
Yeah, I mean, like, and it's not like, and again, I'm gonna use this a lot. It's not wallpaper. It is not surface. Like, you have very serious PTSD. You have very serious impulse control, ADHD. The heroine in the book that's coming out in September is on the spectrum. Like, every and it's weird, what I'm about to say is how refreshing that is, like how refreshingly well it's done, it feels like, in my reading experience. And so, like, are you a counselor? Are you like a psychiatrist? Like, are you just how what made you choose this for your characters, and how do you go about researching it?
Um, well, here is I don't know if this is an overshare. It's not something I talk about a great deal. But I do have a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder that I've had my entire life. I'm extremely well medicated. I was very lucky when I was young that I had two things. One of which was a mother who, in the '90s, when it still and especially in the community where we lived, mental health was not something you talked about. It was certainly not something you sought out help for your child. If you did, it was generally like kind of in a through the church. But
Yeah,
yeah, she fought for me. My mother fought for me, and she also worked for UPS, which had at the time world class health insurance. So I was the beneficiary of having extremely intensive mental health intervention at a young age. So I had an IEP. So a lot of times, like I'll talk about, special education services. I'll talk about things like that. Like I had that. That was sort of my experience. And like treatment works. Um, and it seems like the further we get, or like the further into the future we go, the fewer people actually have access to that.
yeah,
Yeah, which is super weird that in the '90s, there was, you know, it wasn't, it wasn't certainly as bad as it had been before that, but definitely was like the beginning of, treating mental health as it was, a real thing.
yeah.
um, yeah.
Well, it is. It's come to be something that I expect every time I open up one of your books. It's like I think of it as like a mandate that you have. Like you're going to show someone falling madly in love with a person who lives with this challenge, and then having insane crazy sex, in a way that we just don't get to see, and forgiveness and redemption. And I mean, because a lot of these people, these characters, because of some of their mental health challenges, have burned their lives down. I mean, I think of
Oh yeah.
Pornevea, and I think of
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, Twitch. Am I
Yeah.
thinking of Twitch, the guy with the rage? Yeah. Am I
Yeah,
like
nickel,
crap?
yeah. Like these are people I know. Like they're people that, not specifically, but they're amalgamations of people I know, and they're people we know, right? Like
Yeah,
that's what everybody says when they write to me. They're like, yes, I'm a mom and my child is like this, or, I have this, or, it's everybody is, yeah.
yeah.
When you scratch
So
the surface, it's everybody's story, right?
I want to know how you balance those two things, that the realism and the darker details, the grittier details, with what is A plus class act wish fulfillment at the same time, like romance, like, and not just like you've got the see want take, you've got the insta love, the young hot guy falling in love with the older woman because he just does. So how, like, did you know going in that you wanted those elements in it, like that was wish fulfillment for you as a reader and a writer, or is this how the MC world unfolded for you?
Oh, that's such a good question. Um, so number one, I think that's how love is. Like it's just
Fair.
how it is for me. I don't like I know
Tell
that
me about love, Kate. Tell me about
isn't it? But isn't it you just yeah, there's no real good reason a lot of times. But a lot of times there's a really good reason not to.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And you just do. Um, and then you kind of like justify it by, telling your girlfriend like how his taste in Netflix shows is so excellent or whatever.
Right, right. You start building a case of
Yeah,
irrelevant
yeah, yeah,
things.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just justifying something you can't explain.
yeah.
um, yeah, but also, yeah, definitely wish fulfillment. Like I write the books that I want to read. That's what I do. because I'm playing pretend in my head. Yeah, so that's the story I want.
The other part of it that I really like, that I it feels sometimes like in maybe in trad publishing or maybe in like broad scopes romance, we we as readers, as publishers, as writers are trying to erase some of this stuff, but there's always a power dynamic too, an absolutely power, like
Yes.
she's got none, and
Yes.
he's got a lot. And but at this, like, so tell me how you go into it thinking about a power dynamic, both deliciously and how you flip it. And
Um oh gosh, I don't. Yeah, you follow your instinct on that, right? Um it's what feels good.
yeah,
But I do, how BDSM romance is really big right now, right? Daddy romance is really big right now. So we like I we know that this is hot. This turns us on. Um, but but where we are, like we're not comfortable with that, are we? We're not comfortable with
yeah,
our animal selves. So we have to, put rules. It's got to be safe, sane, and consensual. Like we've got to civilize this thing. But like, yeah, I don't know. What did you read when you started? Like
oh,
Reagan
all like, yeah, yeah, all
and
of this.
Lindsay.
Yeah.
What do we just like? These are problematic books.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, Elizabeth Lowell was like,
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, and because they're speaking to something inside us that I think has got to be, very old,
I think
very
so.
old and very human. Yeah. So so I guess the thing is, yeah, you're kind of balancing, like, is this right, and is this wrong, and like, is it wrong in a way that's so
But is it
right,
wrong in the
or
right
is it
way?
just wrong?
So have you felt yourself in writing some of these? Have you felt yourself sort of veer off and have to go, oh, this is too far? Or
I don't have shame.
all right.
Yeah. No, I'm joking. I think with Run Posey Run, it wasn't the darkness. Um, it was that it's an exploitative book. It's he exploits her, and in a way, I exploit the reader. Like there's a I'm messing with you, like I'm
Yeah,
not guiding you to any good place. This is and I think that with the Steel Bones books, I do try and do that. Like there I try to like the end, I want to be light and good and life affirming. And the like Run Posey Run, I do that just because of, I think you need that for the emotional satisfaction. But like this isn't gonna end well.
yeah. When I finished that, I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, yeah. So it's like that's a ride where I feel like you got to be like, this is just fiction, and then you have to not look too closely at yourself for enjoying it.
Well, I mean, you did a really compelling and convincing job of humanizing him and redeeming him. And she found a lot of power in like coming back to him and continuing to teach him how to be human. We Facebook user. We've had a lot of questions, but here or comments. People are loving your books. Love your books. Love your books. Accurate, perfect series. Just read Hitting the Wall, and it wrecked me. But
Thank you.
here's an actual question: do you sometimes think of the issue you want to tackle first, or you just realize the character has issues as you're writing them?
That's so good question. I start with a trope that I want to write. I want to write a secret baby. I'm really into secret babies right now. Or I want to write um uh,
Arranged marriage
yeah, arranged marriage,
or convenience?
anger management. I thought that was like, nobody don't like Nickel as much as I do, but I really like Nickel. I like that he went to therapy.
I do too. I do too. Nichols the guy that has the rage and the impulse control, and he's
Yeah.
like he's the rabid dog that they sick on people,
Yeah.
but that they also have to. I mean, like we all knew a kid like that in school that like
Mhm.
you bait,
Yes.
they bait him to get him anyway. But in the end, he goes to therapy to
Yeah.
be worthy of story. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is like, however you get there. You don't get an award for purity of motives.
No, 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 that doesn't matter. So,
Yeah. So
so
no,
how
I don't think of the issue first.
so how much plotting do you do going into it? Like, how much of your characters are realized? You know, how much do how much plotting do you do? Sorry.
Ooh, so I plot out the whole thing, and then as I work through it, I change it because it goes in different directions. But I have to plot in order to sort of have a path forward. The characters, I have a vague idea of who they are, and then they I have to get to know them, and that's problematic because nobody wants to read 3 or 4 chapters of me getting to know someone. And I'm still at the point where I'm like, I can't just toss 3 chapters
Yeah, right. This is
my
a day.
yeah. This is like, time is money. You do not understand this. So that's a challenge. Yeah, they kind of I have to hear their voice. Yeah, I know a lot of authors say that. Got to hear their voice. And then some of them, they're not quite clear to me. Um, and sometimes it takes a long time for them to be clear to me. Heavy was like that. Heavy was really hard to write because I just didn't know who he was,
Yeah.
and he wasn't talking.
Yeah,
So
I can see the trouble with that character for sure.
yeah. So what did you think of Heavy? Did you read it? Did you
So
like
here's
it?
the thing is that I'm not quite done. And my real question is this isn't the end of the series, is it?
I'm gonna write a Harper book.
Yeah,
Definitely.
okay. That's all I care about. That's all. But actually that leads me to my other question is that so the series starts off simply enough. Hot motorcycle guy, single mom in trouble, sparks fly. Um repeat a little bit, repeat a little. I mean, variations, then we get our stripper. But then things really you start to build this bigger mystery around this motorcycle club. And there's like suddenly a post-Vietnam novella. And there's a spin-off of this small town with this sheriff. And all of these romances are standalone, happily ever after, but there are a lot of moving parts inside this series. And did you know that going in? The timeline kind of jumps. No, yeah, you got excited or somewhere around book four.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me what happened. How did it work out?
So I was like, well, if it's a series, it has to have an overarching plot. So I'm going to have these two MCs that are kind of at war with each other, and they have this past together. But that doesn't interest me at all. People interest me. So then, I was sort of like, moving that plot along because I felt obliged to have a through line. Um, and then I guess I got a little bit more interested in, what that conflict, that past has done to the people,
Yeah.
how it kind of made them the way they are. And I also, I was like, I don't think I was like, I want to, because I know I'm supposed to stay in my lane. I know that's the advice that authors are given, is to stay in your lane. But I wanted more lanes. So so I was like, well, what if I just move over here to this place that's very adjacent to this other lane that I have? Like, are people gonna come with me? Will you come with me? And people did. So I like that I have a world that I can write in, and it's almost perfect because I can almost tell any story I want to tell in Western Pennsylvania.
A lot happens. Whole
Yeah,
lot happens in Western Pennsylvania.
yeah.
So what drew you to the motorcycle club part of it? Was it just that you could create a cast and
Yeah, yeah. I think I'd been reading Joanna Wild, who I love, and
Mhm.
Kristen Ashley, and that got me into Jean St. James and some others. So I was really, I was reading MC romance, and the thing I liked is that it reminded me of the people I grew up with. And so like I recognized the cadence.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I could write this and I can make this real. Like this is real in my head. So and then and they're the kind of people I like.
Yeah. With a code, you know, rough, but brotherhood. I'm so sorry, but I've missed some questions. You have quite a few here. I feel like some of your books are not for beginning romance readers. Look at your cat. Um, yeah, that's not an unfair thing to say, but also it might be exactly what new I mean, it felt a little bit like when we were reading Plum, and again, if my friend Stephanie is watching, we talk about Plum all the time, not in a weird way, but it was like no one told you what you were supposed to do. This is how you write a romance. First of all, she isn't giving a blowjob to another guy when we meet her.
Oh,
Like you just
I knew you weren't supposed to. But I also knew that romance readers are smart and they want something new that they haven't seen a bazillion times before, and that they would come with me or they wouldn't.
right, right.
But I thought they might. And some of
They're
them
going to. They'll still. They'll. Plum's a late bloomer. Plum's a
yeah.
late bloomer. Another question: 7 books into the series, how do you keep things interesting for yourself as you continue writing in the same world? Good question, Facebook user.
Oh, this is gonna sound like a snarky answer, but it's true. I am endlessly fascinated by my own imagination.
You are brilliant.
I was the kid, I had huge cases of Barbies. I played with them well past the age that it was socially appropriate. I because I loved stories, I loved telling myself stories and creating worlds. And so I was the one always, in the backyard, behind the shed with the dolls, and there was serious drama going on. And so this is like that. Um, but I'd like to try different things though, which is why I'm breaking the stay in your lane rule, and we'll see how that goes.
Uh, Heavy was a cipher for so much of the series, so that's a little understanding for your difficulty writing. We got a lot of love for Harper and a lot of love for Plum. Plum is a masterclass in romance.
Oh, thank
Look at
you.
that. People love her or hate her.
Yeah.
So you started this series in 2019. So basically, it's been 2 years. So you've been writing like a mad woman, like a mad woman.
Yep. Yep.
What does your day look like? I don't mean to
Um.
say this with so much concern. Are you okay?
Oh well, I have a day job. I'm looking. Yeah, I'm looking to make the side hustle the main hustle. I think in a year, come next summer, I hope to be able to do that. But I get up at 4:15 in the morning, and I write, and then I write on weekends. I'm a morning writer. I can't write at night. I'm burnt. And yeah, so I have no idea how I'm doing it either.
So, how can I ask? Like, do you know? Like, do you have a set goal for every day, a number of chapters or word count?
I do now. It's 3,000, and yeah, it wasn't before. When I'm in the thick of it at work, I'm happy if I have 1,000. If I have 1,500, then I'm really stoked. Um, but now I'm able to crank out a little bit more, so I aim for 3,000.
So, Heavy comes out now. You're going to have Harper's book next. Are you taking a break? Will you start a new series? Like, what's your plan after this?
Oh, so this is my theoretical plan. I'm working on a rejected mate paranormal romance right now.
A rejected what?
A
Paranormal?
rejected mate
Oh,
paranormal
rejected me. Oh, got it,
uh,
got it.
shifter romance, because I would tell myself when Heavy was at the editor that I could do whatever I wanted, and that's what I wanted to do. So I'm doing it. So I should be finished that in a week or so. I think maybe a week or two. So
Wow.
that should come out hopefully like end of October, maybe. We'll see. I don't want to overpromise. And then I'm going to write Cash, which is book 2 and Hitting the Wall. the Hitting the Wall Stonecut County series. And then I am going to probably maybe write Nikki the Driver, which is
Oh,
book
fun.
two of follow up to Run Posey Run. It's just going to be a stalker romance. Haha. And Cash is a bully romance. I'm going to try my hand at a bully, so we'll see how
Oh, you'll
that
kill it. You'll kill it. And Cash is that guy. That's
yeah,
yeah.
he's a tool. He's an enormous tool. That's gonna be fun. And then I'm gonna do Harper. And I might write a book for Creech, and I might write a book for Mikey. If you remember Mikey, I don't know if you remember Mikey. He was a prospect. He shot a grenade launcher
Oh, right.
barn at one point. I think. I'm like, there's this guy named Mikey in the MC. He's got a story.
Wow. So you are in a lot of ways with this series just sort of flying by the seat of your pants.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna keep calling you Jordan.
I'm going to keep commenting to drive up the contributions for Austin women. One of the other amazing elements you bring are children in books. You are really fully formed. Can you talk about your approach to writing kids? For those of you who are maybe just joining us, we are donating $1 a comment to the Whole Women's Health Alliance in Austin, Texas. So make us pay, guys. Make us pay. So anyway, can you talk to your approach about writing kids? Because you do have good kids. They are like messy and real.
Well, I have 3 messy real kids. So I have 2 step kids and a bio kid, and one is 16, and one is 15, and one is 7, and they are fully formed. so all of the credit goes to them, and none of the blame. I have 3 very interesting children.
The two boys in Dizzy and his and actually like that's a great question, Facebook user. Because the kids are great, but more than that are the parents. And again, this is like, I mean, the answer to all these questions is basically you're a very, very good writer. But like I think about the way Dizzy was thought about his kids and talked about his kids, and the stepdad was calling one of the kids chubby or something, and his feelings about that were so nuanced and real, and not you know this thin stereotype. And I'd say that for all of your characters. Do you feel like as you write they come out fully formed, some have to come out through edits, some you feel like they never come out? Like how does it work for you where you build your characters?
Yeah, they come out real, I think. Um, I don't know. I'm interested in people. Um, I'm bad with them, very bad with them, but but I'm fascinated by them. Um, and for Dizzy, my husband is an amazing father, and he is one of those people. He's a port captain. He works on the docks. He comes home and he's filthy with funk from the ship, and then he's putting a puzzle of the world together with the kids because he thinks that knowing geography is extremely important. Like that's what people are, and like isn't romance hotter when it's real? Like isn't it? Like and that's sort of one of the things that was going on in my head, because I'm a whale. Like I'll read when I'm hot, I'll read 5 books a week, and
Hmm.
that's what I
Hmm.
do. And a lot of them weren't satisfying because they weren't real, and there was nothing that could kind of, I don't know, it's just like even if it's imperfect, it's hotter if it's real.
So what do you mean by that? Like I'm filling in that blank in my head as a writer and a reader. How do you like what do you consider real?
Oh gosh.
I mean, you walked right into that one.
Yeah, it looks like the life I'm living, that it looks like the people I know, that you know not that it could happen, because none of this could happen, none of this happens this way. Um and
That's the wish fulfillment
yeah,
part.
that's the wish fulfillment. That's what makes it a romance. But that, yeah, but But yeah, that the amazing thing that happens to the everyday person. That's the good stuff, right? It's Ed McMahon showing up on your door with a big check.
Yeah. And it's also like fights on Friday night, and it's messy and
Hmm.
flawed, really, really flawed. Yeah. Another question from Facebook user. I think that's a lot of different people. Tell us some of your favorite authors. Who are you reading? I think we were talking earlier. You have a hard time reading in the genre while you're writing.
Yes.
But who are some of your faves?
So this means I'm doing a lot of a megaverse right now. I'm doing a lot of aliens right now. Orcs. I'm really hot into orcs right now. So some of you are going to be so disappointed by this answer. I love Finley Fenn right now. She's writing orcs, really interesting orcs. Have you read Finley Fenn?
I have not. I am not a shifter and or like my paranormal reading is incredibly selective. Kate, if you do it, I'll read it,
Yeah.
but I'll be mad at you. I don't it never got me. It never
Yeah.
got me.
It's a side project for now.
So who
Big
did
side
you who
project. It's like this isn't. I don't think this is where my heart is. But it's super fun for the time being. I like Finley Fenn.
listen,
I like
lady, you're writing 3,000 words a day on a full-time job. You better be writing something. Like,
I'm reading like a mad woman. Um, so I love Ruby Dixon, and I've loved Ruby Dixon for years, and I am just really sad for everybody who just discovered her because of TikTok, because you missed out. She's one of my top favorite authors. Who else do I super love? R. Lee Smith, who wrote Lost Hour of Gan.
oh my, oh gosh.
I think that is one of the best books ever written, period. My sister, the astrophysicist, read it and she was like, reptile porn? No.
What was the other one that she wrote? The
Heat? Heat was, woo, that was
no, the one where the guy
cosmic.
was literally the devil.
Oh, A Land of the Beautiful Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, Golden Angel, I'm a huge fan of. I like Addison Kane.
This Facebook user, Molly Lost Oregon, that's my friend Stephanie.
Do you hate Last Hour of Gan?
She loved it. Oh my God. I mean, I heard so much about this book and I didn't start it. I didn't start it, so I can't say if I liked it, if I would like it or not. But I started and got like halfway through Land of the Beautiful Damned, and I was like, my life is too short.
Do you read sci-fi? Do you like sci-fi?
It's got to be really particular, and I couldn't tell you what would make it particular. Like, what's a sci-fi that I loved? I can't even remember. I like fantasy more than I like sci-fi, but this doesn't have to be about me and my stuff. This is about you.
Yeah, no, Last Hour of Gan is super solid sci-fi that happens to have a romance. And it's weird because it's marketed as a romance, but I think that is a mistake. Um, oh gosh, who else do I love? I love Katie Wild. I love. I'll read some Jessica Kane. I'll do that.
Who doesn't?
Mhm. Yeah.
Wish fulfillment, insta love. Like
Yeah, yeah,
it is.
yeah.
It's something about that. Like, and I mean, this is not a fully thought out question or thought, so I'm going to say it, and then you make it a
I got you. I got you.
because I'm into the cheap bottle of this bottle, the cheap part of this bottle of wine. Um, there's you can tell. I feel like you can tell when an author has a very clear mandate. Like,
Mhm.
this is what I'm going to provide. This is what my books will have, and and some things might seem superficial, but they all lead to this very satisfying happily ever after. And Jessica King's one of them, right? Like, she's like, I'm going to use this again and this again and this again, and you're going to fucking love it. And we
Yep.
do.
I know. And you see a new one came out, and you're like, I'm gonna put on my comfy pants. I'm gonna
I'm going to
open
bed
up.
early, everybody.
Yep. I think Hefty is one of my favorite books. And I told my husband about it, and he started wearing his shirt like the guy on the cover, and he thought that was really funny. um, Who else do I like? Because I like so many people. I went through a Harlequin Presents phase a couple months ago where I had never read Harlequin before in my life. I read all of them in like 4 months. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Um, they were fascinating.
Yeah, it's funny how that's like when you go into the Harlequin Presents binge, it's like Oreo cookies. You're like, oh, delicious, delicious, delicious. Everything's amazing, delicious, delicious. That is terrible.
Yep.
I feel awful.
Now I'm done.
The bag is empty. I am sick.
Like Amazon to catch up with the fact that I'm no longer reading Harlequin Presents. Put something else in that carousel.
Yeah, I should actually go back to reading because I mean, I feel like every few years I go through a stage of that, and it's just a really great reminder of like what pure romance is, like what the real the purest of the pure is
Yes.
like. And it is. It's a power dynamic. It's a power struggle. It's
Yeah.
all those things.
And it's catharsis. It's get the reader spitting mad and
Yeah,
then turn them on.
yeah, right.
But
Throwing a grovel.
don't actually satisfy them. The grovel has to be incomplete. It has to be not good enough so that you read the next book, because maybe then you'll get
Oh,
that
that's a good point.
satisfaction.
That's a good
Yeah.
point.
Oh yeah. They you know that game with the monkeys where the arms like this? That's how they do
Barrel
it.
monkeys.
Yeah. But it's like an emotional, like an emotional barrel of monkeys. And you keep looking for that man to be sorry, and he never is.
They just sort of grunt their grovel.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well,
I'd
Kate, I
like to
have to
write
say,
a book.
oh, I missed you. I missed that. Can you say that again?
Oh, I'd like to write like a good grovel book. That's hard. That's really hard.
I have a real hard time writing endings anyway. I'm like, they love each other. Out. Like, and I was last week I was talking to Tessa Bailey, and her last book had this like, it just had this epic ending. This like, oh my god, oh my, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, like it was just this like, wow, amazing ending. And I was like, I wish I could do that. It was just, it kept getting better and better and better. And I find those hard. I find endings hard.
I love Tessa Bailey.
Hmm.
She's another one. Yeah. She's another get your comfy pants.
Yeah, her last one, It Happened One Summer, is A+ for sure. Yeah, highly recommend. Kate, I've kept you long past my usual time. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here. Ooh, here's a real quick question. In Dizzy, he makes mac and cheese, but it reads like Velveeta shells. This is Stephanie again. Can you state for the record, are you a Kraft or Velveeta mac and cheese lover?
So I personally am Kraft, but that man is definitely Velveeta because it saves a step. That man just squeezes out of the pouch. You know it.
But he makes 2 pots, so nobody goes hungry. Okay,
Please do.
Kate, thank you so much. Again, I'm such a fan. I can't believe you're killing it in your first time at bat. I messed up that metaphor. Whatever, sport, ball. And I'm just so glad that you were able to stop by. Everybody who's commented, I'll count up the comments. I'll let you know how much we owe the Whole Women's Health Alliance in Austin, Texas. Everybody out there, please pick up one of Kate's books. You will not regret it. It is romance just at its best, absolutely consuming. Everybody out there, stay safe, read a book, wash your hands, get the vaccine. Have a good night.